Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another exciting sales success webinar. As always, my name is Alex Nichols here with the sales success team. Alongside myself, we have our senior director, Tim Rowan, and our sales associate, Mike Orlando. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing good. And I'm sorry I'm all bundled up. Some of you may know the Sales Success Studio is actually a compartment in my garage. And in Northern California, we've just been living in the fog for the last week and a half, it seems like. So that's been a little rough. How about you, Mike? How's Philly looking?
A little cold. It's dips down in the teens a couple times this week, but
Okay, so to be clear, I'm not complaining anymore.
I was going to say, yeah, now you don't have room.
Yeah, so anyway, this is pretty exciting, Alex. The things that we're going to talk about today kind of set a couple of housekeeping items, some ground rules. Will always, in fact, some of the most impactful parts of our live webinars are, in fact, the Q&A in the end, which Mike helps facilitate for the team. And so think of your questions. You can put them in the chat, and we will be sure to get to them before we sign off. But team, we have a couple of pretty big things to talk about today. And Alex,
Mhm.
I know you in particular have done some special extra legwork on updating some of our resources and our training materials, and you're going to be demonstrating something today. But before you do that, I just want to back up in time and remind everybody that if you hadn't known before, one of the requests we've gotten from so many of our partners over the last year or so has been, can we add our loan officer assistant? Can we add our processors? Can we get someone else that can view just our sales team's files? And I'm happy to report, we're happy to report that we've done it. It went live last week. We sent out a notification to all of our partners, at least our points of contact, our leadership. And to be clear, what Alex is going to demonstrate for us all this morning is how it will work, and your leadership at each, wherever you're working at each of your um, companies, they will need to add the LOA persona. But what's so cool about this, and again, Alex, keep me honest here, but what's so cool is once you get your LOA added, we can now assign that LOA's loan officers to them. And that is the only pipeline that they would be viewing. Whereas historically, if we added somebody, we would have had to give them admin rights, therefore seeing the entire company's pipeline.
Mhm.
And of course, that's muddy and confusing and, that type of stuff. And maybe even more importantly, even with that role historically, the LOAs never have had the ability to start the inquiry on behalf of one of their LOs.
Mhm.
And so here we go. We now have it. Also, Alex, I would love to be able to kind of, at least at a high level, show a recent enhancement that we, by the way, on purpose, as it turns out, did not make a big splash or buzz about it. And that is on the topic of transparency. And for any of our active users in Lead Portal and on a per file basis, you will now see notes and logs in your file. So, Alex, let's be sure we show them a snapshot of that before we finish our
Oh, we
webinar
will.
today as well.
Mhm.
Pretty awesome, right? And
This is
it's
going to be huge, folks. What you're about to see here, we're going to be showing you new roles, but we're going to be showing you, we have added onto the details page, if you have not seen it already, a ton of new information for, like Tim said, full transparency. So we're going to cover this. This is probably one of the biggest changes we have made overall in Lead Portal, not just this year alone.
Yeah, and what's kind of fun about this, and Mike, of course, you're what, month 3 or 4 in, I think at this at this point. Mike has gotten so ingrained with the team. It's I forget how long he's long ago it was that he came on with us, but I remember Mike, you saying to me a while back, it's like, holy smokes, just in my first couple weeks here, I can't believe how many things we've changed, and yet we're not even slowing down. Like we're
Nope.
continuing.
2026 is going to be so big, gentlemen. That to me is going to be, we're hitting that full steam ahead. We're releasing stuff earlier than I expected. And so I feel like 2026, we're going to be releasing a lot of things much quicker than I expected as well. So, folks, stay tuned, right? This is, our last webinar of the year, isn't it, Tim? I think so, because we're not going to be
It,
doing a Christmas Eve webinar.
yeah, unless the people on the call demand that we do a live webinar on
Please
Christmas
don't.
Eve, but I somehow doubt that's going to be the case. And so, again, I'm all bundled up and trying to get ready for the holidays. I don't know about you guys. I don't even have decorations out yet. I've been traveling still quite a bit. How about you, Mike? Are you all set for Christmas?
Well, nobody's ever all set, I don't think. At least we never
True.
are. Outside of the house is decorated. The inside of the house is pretty decorated, and we host family and stuff like that. So we really have to get on the ball because we're inside 3 weeks now. It's like 2.5 weeks, so we kind of have to get on it.
How about you, Alex?
Oh, we bought our first home this year, thanks to you, Tim. So we got the Christmas tree up. I put lights out. I bought those light up deer for my wife at Home Depot. So we got a bunch of
Wow.
deer in the front yard that I had to wire with a cord from the garage. Turns out we don't have an outlet out front. So it looks nice though. Everything is all set up now.
By the way, for everyone on the call, I think it's an important thing to just touch on what we just heard from Alex here. And this has nothing to do with figure or HELOCs in this regard, but isn't it exciting that what we get to do as originators is work with folks like that? Think about how many people might be in their first home this year for the holidays and how exciting it is, right, Alex, to put up a Christmas tree and do outdoor lights and get light up.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's fun, man. So congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So
Tim joined our company and said he is in the business of helping people, and I took him at his word, and he helped me for sure.
yeah. So, all right. So let's dive in, Alex. Let's take a look at the LOA persona,
Perfect.
or new roles that we have in Lead Portal.
Yeah, so folks, just again, historically, this has been a big ask, just to repeat Tim's point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to take a look at Lead Portal from this new loan originator assistant role here in Lead Portal. And again, to repeat what Tim said, your admins are the ones that will be setting up these new roles. These are now available. So if you're an admin for your organization, you can now start toggling over your LOAs. You can add your LOAs. And if you need assistance, that is where our team can come into play. I know Mike had posted our email here in the chat. But let's say, for example, I'm an LOA, right? Maybe Mike's my loan officer, and I want to go ahead and assist him. Maybe I want to assist some other LOs. Well, what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to see every LO's pipeline that I'm assigned to, not the entire organization, just the LOs I'm assigned to. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like. Just know, number one, I want to make this clear. This dashboard is only my dashboard at this time. So this is going to be important because we're going to kind of dive into it. Not only are you going to have LOAs, but we also have it where LOs can be assigned other LOs to act as an LOA. So this dashboard will only show this individual. So me, Alex, I'm going to see my dashboard. You can see I don't originate, I'm a trainer at heart here. But if we go into my pipeline, I'm going to be able to see the pipeline for all of the files under those I'm assigned to. So while I didn't originate anything, I can see all of these different files. I'll be able to see borrower's information. And this is just a version one, let's call it that. I've been talking very closely to our engineers. They're going to build this out even more with more information on here for the LOAs. But for example, we'll be able to go into our details of these files. We'll be able to kind of dive in there and take a look at the information, just like we would if we were an admin or a processor, right? We don't have those admin tools. We can't reassign LOs. We can't do any of that stuff like the admin. So don't you worry if you're an admin. But this isn't where I, as an LOA, can go in and I can fulfill conditions. I can look at documents. I can look at information and more information, which I'll show you. But what is so exciting, honestly, to me is the fact that, and Tim said this, as an LOA, you can do the inquiry for your loan officers. So let's say, for example, I wanted to run an inquiry for one of the LOs I'm assigned. I just have to do an inquiry. So I hit create new. It's going to pop up that inquiry field as you're all used to, right? And we can see this new screen here at the very top, which says sending inquiry on behalf of. With that, we can then select the loan originator that we're going to do the inquiry for. If we're only assigned one LO, it'll just default to that. Otherwise, what's going to happen here is it's going to have us select an LO. Now, there's a little blank space here. If we try to do an inquiry under blank, it will give us an error, but it defaults to that when there's multiple, just so it forces me to choose one, right? But let's say, for example, I wanted to, I don't know, do an inquiry for Kale M as the LO. Well, I'll do the inquiry. I'll be able to see the offers, right? Maybe talk to the borrower, maybe go through and complete this, get them started. But the documentation is going to be under Kale, right? The file is going to be under them. It's going to be assigned as per normal to that LO. But me as the LOA, I can start the inquiry, I can get the borrower started, I can do all of that to help the LO out, and then I'll be able to see it in my pipeline because that's an LO I'm assigned to. And then from there, the admins using their fancy admin tools can assign, LOs to different LOAs. And again, just to repeat my point, if you're an LO and you have other LOs assigned to you, you'll have this same setup where you can either do an inquiry on your own or you'll be able to do an inquiry on behalf of another LO. So maybe you're an LO who assists others, but you do your own, type of licensing and inquiries, that's fine too. So that's all going to be in there. Now, these new roles, they're going to be listed in this new documentation I updated in the Resource Center. So with the Resource Center, this has been updated. This is a test site. You're going to see all sorts of stuff, but there's going to be a lead portal folder. In that lead portal folder, I have two. I have a LO lead portal job aid with this information if you're a loan originator. I also have an admin job aid. So if you're an admin, if you're an LOA, if you're a processor, whatever it may be, you're going to have information on these new roles, their functionality, how to reassign, all of that's going to be in there. Now, what I would also like to show you is very exciting to me. This is what Tim was kind of alluding to as one of our big new changes. This is for all users, not just LOAs, not just for LOs, every single user that has access to a pipeline, has access to files, can go into the details. We have greatly expanded the information in the details of what is happening on a file. So if we go into the details page here, we're just going to have the status, right? We're going to have the details. This one's in recording. This one's already done. But what I want to show you here is if you scroll down, this is a recent change we made. What you're going to see, and I keep scrolling, we're going to have this new note section. Now, this new note section, we released into Tim's point. We did not make an announcement. We are, getting feedback from our partners. We want to see how this goes because this is all of the notes from the system, from our operations team, everything on the file. So whenever an automated email is sent to the borrower, whenever someone from our ops team touches the file and does something on it and leaves a note, whenever there's a situation that requires a note be left, like if a borrower or an LO calls in, anything of that nature, we had our own notes, for years internally. We have now made that, let's say, public, right, to our partners. So anyone who has access to these files will now have access to these notes. On top of that, you're also going to have an audit log here. Now, this audit log, I just realized, unfortunately, on this webinar, Tim, it's not showing the details like I wanted it to. I thought it would. But what it's going to show you is whoever went into this file. So, for example, it would show an audit log of Alex Nichols, right? December 10th at 11:13 Pacific Standard Time. This is for anyone going into Lead Portal, looking at this details page and accessing it. So you'll see an audit log of every LO, LOA, admin, Alex. If he takes a look at your files, you may see my name pop up, right? Or anyone from the sales success team. So you're going to have a full audit log of anyone that touched this file in Lead Portal and full notes as well. So you know it transparently what is happening on this file if at any point, the borrower made contact with our ops team or vice versa.
So
Now,
Alex,
Tim,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
yeah,
You-
you just know I'm chomping at the bit to ask a question, right? So just for my own benefit here, and I've been looking at this as well, and I didn't even think about testing this out, but I noticed the phrase email is actually highlighted blue. Is that actually a link that shows the email or no?
No, it doesn't. So what this is going to be is this is telling you the type of note that's left.
Got
So
it.
that's a really good question because so this is email. This is a test environment, so obviously our ops team isn't touching it. But if it was like a call from the borrower, it would say like call. We also have things, folks, that are called tasks. That's what we do on the back end. So you may see tasks where we did like a bank statement review, or we cleared something up on our end. So you would see what type of note it is. You'd see information, And then you would see, who it is assigned to. In this case, just because this is a test environment, all it is the automated emails we normally send out. So it's an email, date and time stamp, and then it's saying, hey, we went ahead and sent out this, email of what it is. And it's just going to give you the default, what it is titled. It won't show you the exact email. So that is still something that you're going to have to reach out to operations for more information. And I want to repeat that if you have questions on these notes, you're going to have to reach out to our operations team. Via that phone number, you can have the borrower chat in. I do recommend always having them chat in as the path of least resistance. But we're going to keep building out our support options for you all as our partners and the LOs on the file. But this is the first step for transparency. And I
You know,
personally thought this was going to come in 2026, but it came sooner, Tim. So this is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's actually you and I had a little bit of a panic moment last Friday. If I'm being honest, you reached out and brought this to my attention. I'm like, wait, what? We did what? um, but as it turns out, the engineering and product team did it on purpose as somewhat of a soft launch, and let's just see what kind of reactions we get. And of course, like always, we do want the feedback. So please let us know how it goes. You can definitely use
Mhm.
the sales success inbox for that to let us know. The feedback continues to be our key point as we make enhancements. Now, what I want to share there real quick, everyone, is now we couldn't demonstrate this in a test environment, but I literally just yesterday was on a call with the LO and we were Zoom call and we were sharing a screen and we were looking through the file. Well, as an example, one of the comments said there from the customer service team, it said, need most recent transfer deed. And then right below it, it said emailed borrower requesting most recent transfer deed. And the LO, now that they could see that, they could go and assist the borrower in obtaining said
Mhm.
transfer deed. And guess what? Go into conditions and upload it on behalf of the borrower. Really, really cool because up until this time, you might reach out to Mike and you might say, Mike, I'm just kind of curious what's going on with my file. And Mike would say, I don't know. If you use the chat function, to have the borrower use the chat, call in the MLO support line. Obviously we assist at whatever level we can. But now that those notes are in there, that should help really improve or let you all know what is actually going on in the file. So that's really, really cool. And Alex, to your point, this is just I love this phrase we use here at Figure all the time. In our engineering team, they say this is our first iteration of this, right? So,
Yes,
uh,
this is to get feedback and lead into 2026 with some big changes we're going to do. That's the way I look at it. I want to show you all just because this is the way I am and my brain works. I want to show you this is what the audit log is going to look like if you can look at the right-hand side. So you'll see again, these individuals who viewed lead, who did what. And again, you're going to see different things on the file. So if there's, tasks, CSAs are what we call our agents internally. You'll see, okay, an operations individual touched this. Any notes, that would be on here. But going back to Tim's point, it's a good point, Tim. This is exactly what happened to me when I was helping an LO this week. Was, there was a note on the file, and they were at income verification. What happened was they were having difficulties, and so they wanted to submit pay stubs, but they submitted half a pay stub. It wasn't the full thing. We need the full pay stub. And so there was a note on there saying requested full pay stub from the borrower. Well, the LO then, I was talking to him, pointed it out to him. He saw the note. He was able to get that from the borrower and then send that in to, get that all taken care of. Got verified, borrower moved on, everyone's happy. But to me, it's okay. Now you can see that. You can see what we're requesting, why we're requesting it, what we need. You can look in the documents, see what the borrower sent in, what they uploaded. Like, this is for you now to take a lot more control. On top of that, now we have an LOA role. Now we're really adding on to things like, we've had the processor role. This is going to add more and more to that. So this allows you to really take control of your files and make it less of a black box product.
yeah, and I just want to reiterate this. I know we said it right at the top of the meeting, but and hopefully you all understand as loan originators or branch managers, whomever we may have on the call, we cannot be facilitating adding your LOA for you and choosing the LOs. It has to be done from an admin perspective on your all's end. Okay. Now, having said that, do we have any of our partner admins on the call? I don't know if you want to give us a thumbs up or a reaction, because if so, then Alex, we may want to demonstrate real quick what that looks like for them, or as
Oh,
far as
sure.
adding somebody. Um,
Yeah. Hold on
it,
one
it
second. Let me share my screen here,
there's
folks.
there's one thumb up, so we know we have at least one, so it's a worthwhile demo here. And there's a second one, so here we
There we
go.
go. All right. For the two of you and anyone else. So the way it's going to work for your admins, right? They're going to be in Lead Portal. So this is my admin profile, and this is basically the way I added the LOA. The big thing here, and this is what I really wanted to talk about on this webinar as well, in the admin tools, if you're an admin, you're used to this, what you're going to notice is we have removed the loan originator admin tool. The reason for that is because we rolled it into the user section. Basically, it was, to me, this is Alex's words, not figure. It was just confusing. This is to streamline the process to make it easier. It's all in one tool now. I thought the engineers were brilliant for doing this. Like, this is something that it makes my training easier. Let's put it that way. So we're going to be able to see now all of our users in the user section as before, but now we can add every user type. We can manage our LOs here directly. We can manage our LOAs, every one of that nature. So let's say, for example, we have this individual, Zach1234. If I wanted to go ahead and make them an LOA, I can go into the action menu. I can go to details. And in the details, not only will I see the details, I can hit edit details to then change them over, and you're automatically going to have access to these new roles. So I'm going to make this account active and I can swap over. Now I am in a test environment. You're not going to have access to all of these, just so you know. But for like LOA, we can set them to an LOA. Now, when you set the new role, it's going to give you new permissions per that role. So in this case, we can now set that LOA to individual LOs to assist. Now, I want to go back to my previous point. Let's say, for example, I want to make them a loan originator. Well, I can do so. With the loan originators, I can actually assign a loan originator to an LOA. So I can kind of do it in reverse. So I can say, okay, I'm going to onboard a new LOA. I'm going to add them to their loan originator assistant. Or maybe I can add an LOA and assign them to LOs to, again, to provide assistance. So it depends on your, team structure, depends on how that support goes. This is
Okay.
for, oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Tim.
No, finish your thought, Alex. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's
Oh,
just
you're fine. I was just going to say this is for editing a user. If you're going to add a brand new one, that's the add user button here at the top right. You just click that. That's how I added the LOA for today's demonstration. First and last name, email address, and then you're going to go ahead and just select their access level. And so we'll have these new ones available to you. So you can immediately start swapping over your current members or start adding in new members if you'd like to.
okay. So just to confirm for everybody, especially our admins on the call, the only pipeline view they would have as LOAs will be for the originators that were assigned to them. Say yes,
Mhm.
Alex.
Mhm. Yes, correct.
Now, as we've been demoing this here, Alex, so thank you. That was a great job. My gears started spinning, so I'm putting on my branch manager hat here for a minute. What would prevent me asking my admins at my company, as an example, as a branch manager, let's say I have 10 loan officers that roll up to me, what would prevent me from, in theory, adding myself as an LOA and assigning loan officers so that every time I logged into Lead Portal, I was seeing my branch's activity? We hadn't talked
You,
about
oh, sorry, go ahead.
we hadn't talked about that before, but as you were demoing that, that's kind of where
Mhm.
my head went there for a minute. Mike, do you see my logic there? What I'm,
I do. Yeah.
yeah.
So with that, honestly, because you're going to have admins who are going to see everything, it depends on the partnership type, right? So if we have our larger like wholesale partners, what they can do is they can add in like the actual like broker shops themselves.
Well,
And then
well,
if you're
Alex, I'm
looking at
not
like a
talking about,
correspondent branch, you could
no, I'm not,
absolutely do that.
yeah, I was going to say, I'm not talking about it from an admin thing. I'm going to say, uh, Mike is a branch manager
Yes.
and he reaches out to his partner's admin and says, "Hey, can you please go in and create a persona for me as an LOA with assigning me these 5 loan officers that are in my branch?" Now, I know he's not really an LOA, but what it would do is it would give him the ability to view only his branch's pipeline.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
See what I
absolutely.
mean? It actually makes
Hmm.
me think. And by the way, folks, put some stuff in the chat or the QA or give thumbs up if you're understanding my thought process here. It actually makes me think, Alex, that maybe one of the things we can expand on here is the same exact roles for, yeah, see all the claps and thumbs up here. So the same exact role that we've created labeled LOA, we should be able to also create one that just says branch manager. Same exact persona. It's just the title would be different. Does that make sense?
I could see that. One of the things I've been suggesting to our partners is because with that, with like the LO, because you can assign other LOs, we've been having branch managers as an LO and then just having them have LOs assigned under them.
Okay, well,
We
so
just onboarded a
there's
new partner
yeah,
where
so
we're doing that.
there's another path to that. I
Hmm.
think this is the start of something pretty cool, everyone, especially even with just the LOA persona. But you're right, Alex. Being that you can assign LOs to another LO, uh, then that would in fact be an LO slash branch manager that you could
Hmm.
assign 5 of their LOs to.
Exactly, exactly. And then they can see that and help out. Yeah, we just onboarded someone under Figure Wholesale. They had hundreds of LOs. And that's exactly what I was telling the branch managers of get in there, have your admin set you up, put LOs under you so you can see their pipeline and help them out.
That is pretty awesome.
It makes it a lot better for teams. It makes it a lot less mysterious.
Well, yeah, because historically, as we all know, if I'm a branch manager and I have 10 LOs that roll up to me, I unless I had their login, I had no way of going and looking at their pipeline.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. By the way, the LOA thing is already even with a kind of a soft launch on, it's already working really well. And in fact, one of our partners is in the process of navigating adding some of these LOA personas as we speak for this exact reason. Well, I had a call with the LO the other day, and he's like, "Hey, I have an inquiry I want to run. Never really been a user in our system, listed as a user, but they're doing their thing, right?" And he said, "Okay, I'm going to have my LOA call you, and maybe you can help her guide through." Well, now it just expands who else can get in there and start an inquiry
Hmm.
and see the notes and upload conditions. Let me
Yep.
ask you a question, Alex, and I'm throwing you to the fire here.
Go ahead.
With the LOA persona now being in there,
Hmm.
can the LOA call in to customer service on behalf of the LO?
No, they can't. And that was something I've been talking to our ops about. That may change in the future. As of right now, because the LO is the only one that's on the docs in the file, ops is going by that for verification. So, something that may change because we added these new roles, but keep that in mind, folks. As of right now, only the actual LO on the file can still call in.
Excellent. I'm glad I asked the question. I was thinking maybe they could, but
Yeah, I was kind of talking to them about that because that was my assumption in my thought process, but that's kind of coming into how we're building this out, and it's more for view on the ops side because they won't see the LOA at all. To keep that in mind, right? They're not
right.
going to see that on the file. They're not going to see the LOA's information.
A
So if
great
someone
point.
calls in like, "Hey, I'm helping out this LO," ops is not going to see that at all. So at this
Yeah.
time, only the assigned LO can
Yeah.
call in for support.
That's a great point, actually. I hadn't
Mhm.
thought that all the way through. I mean, I'm glad we're talking about it, but maybe we'll get there at some point. Mike, anything come to your mind as an opportunity here?
No, I mean, I think that I like the way that this is going, and I think it'd be an awesome idea to have the L or the I'm sorry, the branch managers be able to see the pipeline for their LOs. And that it's just easier transparency that way. Speaking of which, I do have a couple questions here, which is related. Um, Allison says that we have licensed LOs that are also act as LOAs for other LOs. Can they be both a loan officer and an LOA in the system?
Yes. So really there, because the LO can be assigned other LOs, then they would be more or less acting as an LOA, plus they can originate. Really, an LOA is someone who they can't originate. They wouldn't have licensing, but they would be assigned they would be assigned LOs to support. So if you have someone who's going to originate, make them a loan originator and then just assign them other loan originators, same functionality. There won't be a difference.
But they don't have to pick them as a loan LOA persona. They would just pick them as an LO persona, but then still
Yes.
have the ability to assign additional LOs.
Correct, correct.
Very cool.
What else you got, Mike?
One other one in there right now. It says if a file ends up in FACTA review, which I've gotten questions on this a bunch of times,
Mhm.
the turnaround time is typically 5+ days. Are there any plans to shorten this turn time?
Yeah.
So
Now,
let's, oh, go ahead, Tim. You go
well,
ahead.
I was going to say, and then Alex, I'm going to have you come in on the tail end of this because you
Mhm.
certainly have more working experience from your CSA days way back when, right, Alex?
Way back
But
when,
what's really interesting about the
6 years.
factor review thing, and Alex, in the lead portal, in the inquiry, they don't see like the soft pull notes, right?
No, they're not going to see this.
Yeah, but now here's what's interesting. They will see now in the comments from the CSA regarding attempts made
Correct, correct.
call. So just to make sure that everyone's clear on this, a borrower sets this on their credit bureaus, not us. It has nothing to do with us. They give instruction to the credit bureau, in this case Experian, to say do not extend credit prior to calling me at, and they list a phone number. So if you see that now you'll see it, the customer service agent says attempted outreach and no answer. They will wait, what is it, Alex, 24 hours and make the second outreach attempt?
Correct.
And if they don't connect on the second outreach attempt, I think that's it. I think they literally, like, the file comes to an end.
Yep, that is correct. And that's just per law. Is what we have to do on the FACTA, to be honest, is it's just an outbound call, two outbound calls. Second one fails, as Tim's saying, then we just have to decline.
Now,
They're
can
welcome to
you,
apply again. It's not like a hard end of the world.
right?
But for the file, it is very
Well, so
specifically.
so Alex, can you talk to the 5 day comment? This is actually a little bit concerning to me because one, I have not seen that yet. I have seen numerous occasions where they're calling the phone number the borrower listed and the borrower doesn't
Mhm.
pick up, and I've seen that happen. However, do you have any feel for what the normal turnaround time is on that? In other words, fact alert, at what point, what stage in the file do we make that attempt to make the FACTA call?
So what's going to happen there is long story short, as soon as the borrower starts the application, that's going to ping and go into more or less a queue for our operations team to go ahead and work through these. To Tim's point, it can take a couple days because it could be a couple follow-ups. Most of the time, what happens is the borrower is just filtering their calls, and it's from a number they don't recognize, so they just don't pick it up. If there's no phone number in the FACTA, we're just not gonna we'll just decline the app automatically. But if there is a phone number, that's where we're gonna try to call twice. The thing is the application can keep moving forward. The borrower can do everything. Our ops team can work on other stuff. It's just that that needs to be cleared before we can complete the application to get over to notary. So it has to be an outbound call. Your borrower has to pick up. They have to clear that information. Um, so just like let the borrower know want to pick that up. Look at the notes now that we added that. And really it's something where, if the borrower wants to, they can basically like just chat in real quick, say like, hey, I want to get this cleared. Can someone give me a call and, get that done, right there, instead of waiting for a phone call.
I'm always, of course, anyone that's been on these webinars in the past, I think I say this every time. I'm a big fan in the power of questions. And, this might be a great question to an expectation to have with the borrower at point of inquiry, meaning ask the question, hey, do you by any chance have any alerts set on your credit, with the phone number that people are to call? And if so, and if they say yes, there's nothing you can do about it other than let them know, hey, listen, if your phone rings, make sure you pick it up. It is an interesting uh, thing, right? They typically list their cell number. And I think perfectly saw a comedian reference cell phones recently. He said, we should no longer call them phones. They should be called call screening devices because so few pick up their phone. But now it used to be we were blind on that. But now, in fact, Alex, I'm going to start looking for this. But now that we're posting all those notes and tasks in the lead portal,
Mhm.
the loan originator should be able to see that and then call the borrower. Hey, looks like they made an attempt. Please be sure to. Keep an eye on your phone. They're going to make a second attempt. You know,
Hey,
Yeah, and
follow.
just so you know, folks, too, on a facto, we don't leave a voicemail, so we're not going to say like we're going to call them if they don't pick up. Then per law, there's no voicemail that can be left or explanation.
but
So
the
that's where it also
CSA,
gets
the
tricky.
CSA task note would say they called.
Yes, correct. So you can see the note, but the borrower is not going to have an idea other than an unknown number called them.
Hey, follow up to this. Are there any factor reviews that only require an internal review without an outbound call? Because that's a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, no, I saw that, Timothy. I'm going to do my own internal investigation on this. I'm staring at the actual like job aid we have right now, and no situation I can see. I'm going to follow up with ops and get more information on that. Um, if you're having any difficulties on a particular file, please send it over to me so I can see like the exact number. But I'm going to follow up with ops and get more information. It just needs to be an outbound called, cleared, and then we're literally just asking them some basic information. First and last name, date of birth, you can tell I'm reading off a chart. Last four social, property address, and that they submitted the application. Borrower goes, yeah, and they answer all that. And then we go, great. Can we help you with anything else? And the borrower goes, no. And we go, great, that's cleared. Have a great day. So keep that in mind. And then if the borrower does remove the FACTA before you do the inquiry, you're solid. But if they remove the FACTA afterwards, we still have to clear everything. So just keep that in mind.
The question from Allison, there is a processor role. Is that being used at this time?
Oh, yeah. So there is a processor role in there that's been around for a little bit this year. The processor role can see the entire pipeline. Keep in mind, the processor is not going to be assigned to certain LOs like the LOA, but their role is similar. The processor cannot originate, but they can go into the details, fulfill conditions, pull documents, see notes, all that stuff. So the processor is very good for an individual who wants to help with everyone in your organization. So an admin can assign that individual to be a processor. So right now we have admin, processor, loan officer is assistant. And for our wholesale folks, we also added an AE role as well. So all that information is going to be in that admin job aid on the Resource Center.
Yep, very cool. Light on the questions today. That must mean we cover everything so well that it's just, you know.
That is.
Hey, so if a figure phone attempt was made, will all assigned to the file be notified by email? So the LO, LOA, admin, processor, etc.
If this is on the topic of FACTA, no,
Mhm.
not. If an email's been sent to a borrower, this is actually going to be our next further expansion. By the way, we're in the process of building this right now, and that is you're already as loan originators receiving file status update emails. The next iteration, because we love that word here, will be that if an email is sent to the borrower, it will also be sent to you, the loan originator, that is not live yet. But in particular to FACTA, no. And in fact, the rules are clear on that.
Yeah, it looks like you just need a little bit of a proactive stance here. If you know that there's a factor review on there, check the notes, see if there's an attempt made, and let your borrower know.
And Alex, you even mentioned earlier, like the borrower can always let's play this out. I'm the loan
Mhm.
originator. I'm looking at the notes and I go, oh, it looks like I see here a note that left, attempted phone call to borrower to clear FACTA. I then, the loan originator, call the borrower. Hey, it looks like you may have missed a phone call. They tried reaching out to you to clear your FACTA alert. And I could then tell the borrower, hey, log in real quick, use the chat function and
Mhm.
arrange for that call to be made. They won't clear it on the chat, but at least it can put it back on top of the list.
Yeah, yeah, that is what I recommend. What they can also do, I've done this before. Borrower calls in to like the customer support line. They can't clear it on an inbound call, but then they can just get it on an outbound call right away. So, as long as your borrower is aware that this is going on, to Tim's point, have them chat in. It's the quickest, way to go about it. And then just tell our ops team, like, hey, I'm ready for this. Give me a call real quick. That way it can just get cleared up right then and there without the borrower having to wait around for a phone call. But again, it's not going to stop them until the very end. Like, so they can go through the application.
Yeah, this is a pretty worthwhile enhancement. By the way, I'm kind of getting off that topic here for a little bit. I am happy to share with everybody. Of course, I'm involved in a lot of different meetings behind the scenes and with additional
Mhm.
leadership here at the company. And I'm going to say it again, folks, the opportunity continues to be real. We just had like the largest origination week last week in
We did.
and in December, which so many people sit back and we go, oh, it's,
Mhm.
seasonality, that type of thing. We don't quite have the answer as to the why yet. We're actually diving into this data as we speak, trying to understand what might be driving that. But I have to say that with the expansion of a lot of the transparency of the files, my gut feeling tells me that as we continue to dive into this data, I think what we'll find is driving the need for this process and product is in large part the pain of debt overload that so many uh, homeowners have currently. I just have to believe that that's what's going on. The pain is real, folks, and I think you all would agree with me there. Um, so I guess I bring that up because don't sit back and think, oh, after the first of the year, I'll get re-engaged and get started on this again. So as much as we love to spend our time thinking about turkeys and Christmas trees, the, the opportunity is still very, very real. Lots of folks are still doing these as we speak. Any other questions? Kind of a short webinar today, guys. Well, not that short, but hey, pretty good. Oh, another one might have
We-
just popped up.
Yeah, we got a question come in. When qualifying a self-employed borrower, are we able to get a matrix of what kind of bank statement transaction lines Plaid accepts? I'd love to be able to review a client's bank statement and have a better idea of if they would qualify or not.
Okay, I've got to look at that question here real quick and decipher what you said. Qualifying self-employed, are we able to get a matrix of what kind of bank statement transaction lines Plaid accepts? I don't believe so. And by the way, I'll say this with somewhat of some humor behind it, in the sense that one of the things our system is very protective of is putting out so much information that we as loan originators may be tempted to gamify the system. Okay. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and what loan originator would ever go down the path of knowing what instructing borrowers which accounts to link, which not? Um, so no is the answer. We're not going to provide a breakdown of what deposits our system is looking for, but I can tell you that and give you an example of this. Think cadence and consistency and source of deposits. And our system will pick that up, and certainly payroll deposits. But the example I'll give you, and this was some time ago, we were helping one of our partners out, and the borrower was a cosmetologist, and her husband was a wage earner. Okay, cool. They linked all their bank accounts. Our system identified and gave credit for all of this, the husband's, in this case, is the spouse's income, which, okay, fine, that was allowable. But it did not pick up any of the deposits for the cosmetologist. And here was why. One day it was a $50 deposit from Venmo. The next day it was $150 from PayPal. Then it was a cash transaction for $75. And all different days, all different sources, all different amounts. And therefore, it wouldn't pull that as deposits. Now, having expanding on that, now, just to make sure everyone's aware, we now allow to link to not only personal bank accounts, but also business bank accounts.
Mhm.
This is, and Alex and Mike, you guys can, again, keep me honest here, but this has been a big lift for us so far.
Huge,
Um,
huge
Big
lift,
time.
folks.
yeah, because typically in the
Yes.
past with self-employed borrowers, what would happen is our system, they would try and link to a bank account, and you might remember seeing income verified $12. And it's because it was a business account and the system defaulted to giving them $1 a month.
Yep.
Now, however, we do allow them to link to business bank accounts. And before anyone asks the question, I'll just answer it anyway. The borrower is then taken to a screen to say, okay, here's my business account. And they then have to answer a couple questions. What percentage of the business do they own? How do they file taxes for the business? Not that we're looking at taxes, but just how do they file? What corp, that type of thing. And then they can either enter in their NAICS, their NAICS code, or they can choose from a menu regarding the type or description of business. Based on that, it will apply an expense ratio factor. And back to my gamify scenario, we don't know what that is. I've talked to the product team and I've said, hey, can you guys send over a list? And they said, no. We can't. And that's why. Because if I looked at a list as a loan originator and said, oh my gosh, look at gardeners have only a 20% expense ratio factor, there's a good chance that all of my self-employed borrowers would be gardeners. So they don't want us gamifying the system, but it has worked really well.
Let's take a look at that here real quick, folks. So I want to go ahead and share my screen here. We're taking a look at income verification for our borrowers. So with that, what's going to happen here is they can link up their bank accounts, both personal and business. It'll all stack together. I'll take personal first to make life easy. But with this, they'll click connect. It's going to go through Plaid. Plaid supports 12,000 plus institutions, but they can either select or search for their institution. Let's do Wells Fargo. And what'll happen is when they click continue to log in, it'll have a little pop-up where it's literally Wells Fargo. Put in the username and password, log in, give Plaid permission to pull that data. But back to Tim's point, right? With income verification for business accounts, we're going to have one additional section they need to fill out. So they're going to go ahead and either enter in their industry code, or they need to select how they file their taxes or plan to file their taxes if it's a newer business. So this is going to be, sole proprietorship, partnership, S corp, whatever it may be. They're going to select, in this case, business sector. I'm doing sole proprietorship, and then they'll select their industry, right? And to Tim's point, we don't even know any of the calculations here. Just have the borrower put in what's applicable for them, and our system's going to take that information, do the calculations, and let them know how much they verified. And we may not need the full income verified, just enough for their offer. So once they verify enough, it'll have them move on, and they'll go through the rest of the application. Pretty easy.
By the way, a little side note, just from a knowledge-based perspective, I can share with everybody that one of the things we've seen, and every banking institution is different, but we have still seen where someone will link to their business bank account. However, it's not giving the income data pulling into our system. Well, what we've learned, and I've helped a couple of our partners with this already, is that in some cases, depending on the institution, they may need to log into their bank account on their own, having nothing to do with us, and go into their account settings or profile or whatever the case is, and toggle a button that allows the bank to share to Plaid or third-party institutions. I had one LO that their borrower actually went into their bank and had them turn that on. So if you run into that, make that your first go-to. Have the borrower check that regarding the business bank accounts. I think we're good, gentlemen. Listen, if there's any additional help, Alex, I think what we should do is as kind of on a one-off or as we need. And Mike, actually, this is probably more important for you. As we're talking to some of our partners, if we need to arrange any individual calls with our partners, points of contact, our admins to help them at any level better understand how to add those LOA roles or whatever, yeah, just reach out to us and we'll set up the time we can't do it for you. But we can certainly help walk you through doing that.
Yeah, please, folks, let us know. We can always schedule time too, even if it's quick 15 minutes. It's pretty intuitive, but if you have questions, if you want to see how it works, let us know. Feel free to reach out, salessuccessatfigure.com. I'll send an email after this with a bunch of information, our contact information. But with that, thank you all for joining us today for the Sales Success
And
webinar.
again, this is actually, Alex, take a look at the calendar real quick. Will this be our last webinar of 25?
This is going to be our last webinar of 25. Yeah, we're skipping
Wow.
over New Year, or we're skipping over Christmas
Wow.
Eve. So our next one is going to be on. It's going to be a while. I'm going to have to double
First
Like
week,
the
actually.
first week,
I
first
seventh.
week of
don't even know
January, I
when our
think,
next one
right?
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the
something like
following Wednesday is New Year's Eve.
Oh,
So the one after that would be like the 7th.
yeah, something
So
around there.
we'll have to talk about that, Alex. It may not be a bad idea to do one on New Year's Eve and I don't know, just have some fun. I don't know. Well,
Party a little bit. That'd be kind of
if
fun.
hey,
We'll go to the
it's
dollar store, get some lighters and
not a
or
bad idea.
sparklers, I mean, some things like that.
I can remember working at places like all during the COVID days, we had literally Zoom happy hours. So
Yeah, there we go. That'd be kind of
might
fun.
be kind of fun, right? Maybe recap all the numbers from this past year, which have been phenomenal, by the way, thanks to all of you.
Yeah,
mhm.
exactly.
And happy holidays, everyone. By the way, a little side note, keep an eye out for our newsletter, which will be coming out new week next week. And we always love to put a little special holiday message in there for everybody, which Alex and I started working on the scripting for yesterday. So it'll be some fun video messaging there.
All righty, folks. Thank you all for joining us. You have a fantastic week. Happy holidays, and we will see you at some point in the future. Have a great one.